Okay, let's start. Let me share the screen for the agenda of today's meeting. Dear friends, in our agenda we have two main contributions. The first one is Mein Grundeinkommen and the new raffle project of ECI UBI. It will be presented by our dear friend Helvig Fenner. And the second one is another presentation, Colonialism and Basic Income, by our dear friends Bart Jacobson and Sarat Davala. And following these two main contributions, we will try to receive news from working groups and also news from UBI advocates and UBI networks. Is there any proposals regarding the agenda to modify it or to add something? As far as I see, none. Okay, so we can continue like this. So our dear friend Helvig Fenner will talk about Mein Grundeinkommen and the new raffle project of ECI UBI. Dear Helvig, the word is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Ali, for the opportunity. Hello, everybody. Maybe you can explain the UBI advocates and UBI network in a few sentences, Ali?
No, this is our 14th meeting.
Okay. So we should have done this before. All right.
Yeah, maybe our friends can mute themselves so that we can have a better voice of yours.
Okay. Yeah, hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm happy with the opportunity to tell you something about Mein Grundeinkommen, where I work at, and the new raffle projects of European UBI. Yeah, works. So, what does Mein Grundeinkommen do? Mein Grundeinkommen's concept is every time we have collected 12,000 euro, we raffle it off as a UBI, paying out 1 year, 1,000 euro per month without any conditions. So that's the concept of Mein Grundeinkommen. It's an NGO, German NGO, and we founded it in 2014. Yeah, I've been working there since end of 2014. So to the concept belongs that everybody can participate to this raffle, even children. They need to register it by one of the parents. And there's nothing to pay in, no charge. Everybody can attend and for free. And that would be the question now, maybe in your head, how is it financed? It's financed by crowdfunding, so by donations. I will explain a few words on this later. Yeah, this is the question. We obviously attract people to our website platform. What would you do if your income were taken care of? I mean, you all know this question. I saw this the first time, 2016, in the campaign of the Switzerland guys. Yeah. And later, a few numbers why Mein Grundeinkommen in Germany is such successful. I think the success based on twice hope. So one is it's easy just to get money, to win money, to get 12,000 euro. Yeah, I mean, everybody would like to win this. And the other hope is, I think, the hope connected with the UBI for a better world. So this double hope is very attractive for all the people. And as you can see, this concept works. Within that last 5.5 years, we could raise enough money to pay out almost 700 UBIs. Yeah, so 700 times 12,000 euro. I think that's an amazing amount for crowdfunding. It's not a small NGO no more. We have 1 million users registered on our website. We think this is a big movement in Germany now. Yeah, and the financing is based on see 150,000 monthly donators. We call them Crowdhörnchen. And that's an important point, psychological view, because in Germany, Eichhörnchen is a squirrel. A squirrel is called Eichhörnchen in Germany, and they collect some nuts, and maybe sometimes they forget one, and then it's for the whole community, and trees grow up from this, and yeah, Eichhörnchen or squirrels are always busy, and they have a very positive image, and we changed it to Crowdhörnchen, and connected with this positive image from the squirrel, we give the monthly donators kind of identification. You know, they identify with this word Crowdhörnchen and as a monthly donators, and most of them are very proud to be this. Maybe it's an impulse for financing some projects you might have. Yeah, we are an independent NGO with now 30 employees, and no more 2 or 3 like in the first year, now 30. And our strategy. In the beginning, we just wanted to take the UBI away from the left wing, from the esoteric, from the alternative corners, right in the middle of the society. This was our strategy at the beginning. And now, so to a wide debate, yeah, and now we're going to change it to a more deep debate, because in Germany, due to all these activists, not only us, there are many more, but in Germany, we know that nearly everybody knows the concept of Grundeinkommen, of basic income. And now it's the strategy to give them answers on all the questions the basic income produces. So this is why we set up the pilot project. We had a kickoff a few days ago, and it's important to give the debates a scientific stamp. You know, you can discuss the UBI cons and pros forever without end. But if you have a scientific stamp, you know, then you can say, yes, it's good for the people, and nobody can discuss this because it's science, you know. It's, I mean, that's my view from a campaigning side, and that's why we started the pilot project. Let me switch quickly to this. The concept is we give 100 people 1,200 euros per month for 3 years, and yeah, investigated by the University of Cologne and by the DIW, which is a named economic institute in Germany. Yeah. Yeah, we also looked for 1 million participants, because we need to have a special group of them. We cannot investigate it for the representative for the German society. So we decided to investigate the mid-class, and then we can extract some results from this group to the other classes. And within 2 days or 3 days, we got this 1 million, and now we are at I think 2 million announcements of that. Okay, back to the presentation. Yeah, so the pilot project is a part of Mein Grundeinkommen, and it will now we take the focus on it for the next 2 or 3 years. Okay, How is it connected to a European UBI Raffle? I built Mein Grundeinkommen up together with the founder, Michael Bohmeier. Maybe you know him from the press and media. And I'm going to leave Mein Grundeinkommen in October. But one of the reasons is to start the same or to adapt this successful concept to a European level. Yeah, so it's the same concept. Every time we have collected 9,600 euro, we're going to raffle it off as a UBI, paying out 800 euro per month. So it's not the 1,000 euro because we decided for the average in Europe, which is more or less 800. Yeah. Not everybody and not children can participate, but every European Union resident, minimum 16 years old, and it's also for free. And it shall also be financed by donations. I don't know, we cannot take the name Crowdhörnchen. Maybe you have a good idea what is the name of a European Crowdhörnchen. So what could it be? Why do we need a European UBI Raffle? In the course of the European Citizens Initiative, I guess you all know this. The European Citizens Initiative needs 1 billion signings, and then the European Commission and the European Parliament have to react on our initiative, have to produce a paper, have to answer, and this initiative will start 25th September now, in 1 month approx, and the raffle of a UBI on a European level is a vehicle for this, of course, for getting all the signings. Yeah, we need 1 million in Europe from at least 7 countries, with a minimum on each country. And it's also a vehicle to finance the campaign. Yeah, because in the course of the donations for the UBI, we also get money for the campaign, for the work. Yeah, and we spread it then to the countries which can finance their campaign in their countries. So it's one point is the vehicle for the ECI, and if we are successful with our ECI, I texted we would get national politics to the sandwich position. I don't know whether this is an English phrase or not. I somehow switched it from the German language into English, but I think the image is obvious. With a successful ECI, we bring pressure somehow to the national politics from the bottom, yeah, from all the initiatives and from the activists, and also from the top, yeah, from the European Union level. So this is yeah, my hope and my view on the success of the ECI. Yeah, and maybe an outlook. Maybe we can, if the raffle of European UBI is successful, I don't think it will be successful like the Mein Grundeinkommen, but I hope it's successful enough to get all the signings and to fund the campaign, the ECI campaign. But for an outlook, we could think of continue this raffle on a European level to get yeah, to think of the strategy of a wide debate, yeah, and then in a few years turn into a deep debate strategy. Yeah, this is yeah, and now the status quo and the next steps for our UBI raffle. We are currently now 16 EU countries participating and interested in supporting the raffle project. Yeah, we're going to start 25th September. We have an own NGA founded. Willem is the president here. Willem, you can tell us a few sentences afterwards if you like. And we are now 9 guys in our team. Yeah, and this is our raffle website. It is half done. And now one aspect to you. maybe you need someone, we need a web designer. Yeah, we have Robin from the Netherlands, which is a very good programmer, but on the technical side, and now we need a more artist person to design our raffle website, easy handling, smart user guidance, and nice buttons and fashion. And if you know some web designers, I mean, for now we cannot pay anything, but we expect to get money. And this is why I ask you, because with a UBI in the heart, maybe it's easier to help us with web design. Okay, I think that's from my side. Just very short, and yeah, your questions and ideas are welcome.
Dear Halik, thank you very much. Maybe we should hear William too, if he would like to say a few words. And then there's a question from Olaf, or a contribution, I don't know. Olaf, would you allow us to first hear William? Okay, William, please.
Well, Helbig is our manager, you know. He directed us to the goal we are all in for. We needed a foundation, a legal statute foundation to organize the raffle. And that's why we choose the Netherlands, because our treasurer from our association, he is all in to put some effort in the organization side of dealing with that raffle. We got 27 Euro countries, but not all the countries got the euro. Some got their own currency, and that's typical something for a treasurer to find out how to deal with the raffle money, getting that in all the countries done. So he is our treasurer also from the Raffle Foundation, UBI for All it's called. And Robin was already mentioned as the web designer. And because every foundation needs a chair, I am the chair, but I'm doing the less of all of them. But so, when you have got some questions, I think Helbig will be the best to answer them, but maybe I can be of your service too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, William. Dear Olaf?
Yes, thank you very much. And first of all, congratulations on all these huge successes that Mein Grundeinkommen has been performing in Germany. I've been following that closely. And but you said one thing that I would like to go into it a little deeper. You said you wanted to get the basic income discussion in the first place out of the esoteric and left-wing discussion. And since I'm being left-wing myself, I would like to hear a little bit more about what kind of disservice could or had the left-wing discussion done to the basic income from your point of view? That was the first question I have. And the second one, could you please repeat the number of people that are employed with Mein Grundeinkommen? I haven't followed that closely. Sorry, that's my fault.
Yeah. Olaf, we are now 30 employees at Mein Grundeinkommen. Yeah, this is your question number 2. And question number 1. It was our impression in 2014 that UBIs only spread in the left wing, on the left wing side, or in some closed circles, you know, and our impression was, or our strategy was, to bring it right in the middle of the society, to the middle class. Also, because this was very unknown, or our impression was that it was very unknown in the middle class society, or in the middle classes. And I don't want to say that the left-wing discussions about UBI is not worth. You know, it was very useful, and it is. But yeah, we try to bring it in the middle.
May I have a follow-up question, please? You perhaps have heard about the statement of the new Social Democrat candidate for Chancellor, Mr. Olaf Scholz, who recently said that he opposes the basic income idea. And I've read several comments in the press that he couldn't afford such an opinion because of your huge success. So he wants to gain 50% of the vote, and 50% of the people in Germany are already backing the idea of basic income. So what is your estimation? Will at any time the basic income be embraced by a major party in Germany? And how much did your group contribute to that?
Well, I hope so. I mean, for Olaf Scholz, I mean, he's a finance minister, so he need to. I mean, it's one of his core sentences to say we cannot finance this. Yeah? I mean, it's more to sharpen his image, I guess. It's more tactical move. The sentences, but I'm very hopeful because Robert Habeck, one of the leaders of the Green Party, he is pro basic income. Annalena Baerbock, the second one of the Green Party, is against. And the same situation in the Social Democratic Party in Germany, where Saskia Esken is pro UBI, and the other one, his name, Walter Borjans, is against it. So I mean from the say top 5 parties in Germany, two how do you say, Vorsitzende, you know, two party chiefs are pro basic income. I mean, that's very good situation, I think. I mean, I couldn't imagine this 5 years ago. Yeah. So I'm quite optimistic for the next 2 years.
Thank you. There's a question from dear Diana and then Sheila. Dear Diana, please.
Thank you. Thanks very much for your presentation, and also congratulations on launching the pilot. I'd like to know, what would you say is the profile of the people who receive or who register actually in the general sort of project? So before the pilot, what has been the profile of the people, would you say? Or is it a very big mix of the society? Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So if we talk about the Mein Grundeinkommen, so I cannot answer your question regarding the pilot project because we just got the people now in our database, and there's no results for now. But regarding the Mein Grundeinkommen project and the raffle, I can say that the winners are really a mix of all. Yeah, we have 700 or almost 700 winners of the basic income, and really babies won this, and managers, and you know, so really a big mix. I mean, the stories are very interesting. What they tell us about their life and the changes and thoughts, and it's really 99% positive influence on their life. And the people who participate the raffle, I mean, yeah, I think really most of them are basic income pro. And there are only a few which only want to win money. I mean, yeah, why not? But they also spread the UBI somehow. And it's really a mix. And it's 1.7 billion registered on our platform. So it must be a good mix of the society in Germany. Yeah, they're more female than male, I can say. So around 60% female. I mean, we have a female web designer, and my guess is that this is more attractive for female somehow.
Just a quick follow-up. Are there studies that have been conducted on the recipients, and is it available online, the research?
The research of what?
Has there been studies done on, or has there been a follow-up on the recipients? So do you follow their stories, and has it been analyzed, you know, the impact, and is it available for us to sort of read?
Yes, it is available, but only in German language.
Okay.
Yeah, it's, I just write. So this is our website, meingrundeinkommen.de. There is, if you scroll down to the footer, there's a small information in English with frequently asked questions. And in our magazine, there are lots of, I won't say 100, but lots of stories about the winners. And there's also a book Michael has written.
Thank you. I think Eric, before you, Sheila was raising her hand, I guess. Sheila, would you like to? And then Eric. We will continue with Eric. Sheila, you are muted, I guess. I think she lost the connection. Maybe we can continue with Eric. Dear Eric.
Yes, hello to everybody. I have a proposition to Helvig because he was asking for a European name for Krauthörnchen. And by the way, of course, Krauthörnchen is already Dengish. It's not German, it's not English, it's Dengish, they say. So it's quite funny. On the national level, you have this Dengish word, Krauthörnchen. But if you look now, if you want to put it up on the European level, then I have one proposition for you. But why do you could translate this word into Esperanto, for example? So as Esperanto is maybe coming up, and English is we left the European Union, so maybe you can use Esperanto for Krauthörnchen, but it will be not easy to translate this into Esperanto, but maybe you will find a solution. So that's only a proposition.
Thank you. Yeah, good idea.
Dear Sheila, I guess you are back.
Yes, I'm having Zoom problems today. My question sort of follows up on Deanna's, and that's like, how did you go about collecting data, like both baseline and how did you learn what people were experiencing?
Yeah.
And also just Dankeschön for the presentation and the whole idea, because it's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, there are at the beginning 1 and now 2.5 employees in our team just care about the winners. Yeah? I mean, they need the money and they need support, and most of them has no experiences with press or media and photographs and social media, etc. And I mean, it's without any conditions, so they don't need to give interviews or say something about their life with UBI and social media, etc. But if we get in touch with them and support them, most of them spread the word, yeah, spread the UBI in the media, and we give them all the same. Yeah, we send around and questions and all the same questions to all the winners, so we can compare their answers. And we started that 3 years ago. I think this is how we now and how we investigate the things. And we had a meeting. We invited winners to a meeting to help them each other and to know more about them and their lives. And yeah, we invited, it was when we had 100 winners, we invited them to Hamburg and had a meeting, yeah. So we stay in contact with them, we give them all the same questions, we evaluate their answers regularly, frequently. And yeah, this is what we do at Mein Grundeinkommen. And for the pilot project, it's more standardized, you know, it's more, yeah, university is involved. So I'm not really involved in the pilot project, it's do other project managers, but I know all the really safe scientific things they do with the pilot project.
And a lot of experiences were collected in this book. It's in German, however, but it's really very interesting to get more in depth in the personal circumstances after getting a UBI.
Yeah, there's also a podcast and a, what do we say, Hörbuch. You can listen to the book also.
Dear William, can you share the link or the title of the book in the email group also, so that friends who are not here can also follow this?
Okay.
And, thank you. Janus, dear Janus, please.
Thank you. My question is for this ECI raffle. Did you have to be connected to the national tax boards about this this raffle? Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, the difference to Mein Grundeinkommen project is that we need to investigate the legal side. You know, if someone from Slovakia or from Spain or from Sweden wins, does he or she has to pay tax on the winnings? In Germany, we can say no if it is below 20,000 euro, but in other countries it's different. So we have to investigate this, and yeah, we are connected with all the national coordinators of the ECI to answer this question. Yeah. So on the legal side, it's or the legal concept is not a lottery, but it's a winning game. And the difference is you don't have to pay in, so you cannot lose something. For lottery, you have to pay in, and if you get something out of a lottery, you have to pay tax on it, and you can lose your money, and that's why there is a risk. But a winning game, if you think of a magazine and a crossword puzzle, and you can win 1,000 euro, you normally don't have to pay tax on it, and I mean you cannot lose because or only the value of the stamp maybe, but that's all.
Oh, is this technically possible that if you if someone someone wins from this country who should pay taxes, that before paying him, you already reduce this sum of the amount of tax and pay directly to the tax board? Was it clear, the question?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. It depends on the country's legal side, right? I think.
Okay.
So I cannot answer this for all European countries.
Okay, yeah. Just I asked this question from our tax board, but no answer yet.
Ah, Janus, yeah, we shall get in touch with this because you are one of the national coordinators, right?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that in the Slack maybe.
Dear Ivailo?
Yes, I wanted to ask, because we have speak the same that Janus asked it, maybe it's better if can be paid from Holland to everybody, because in Bulgaria if it's need to give it to the foundation, and I need to pay some taxes. And after that, if I give money to the person, I need to have another taxes. And the best way is maybe if William can see if they can pay directly to the people in the different country. I think that will be better. This is not like question, like situation. Just to see William and if they can pay directly to the people in the different country.
Yeah, that's a really detailed question, but I think here are some national coordinators from the ECI. Let me say 2 sentences to this. Yes, it's planned that our Dutch organization will transfer the money to the winner directly. Yeah. However, we can think of different concepts that the money is first transferred to a national NGO, which does some bureaucracy or things, and then forward the money to the winner. But this is really a question of a country individually.
Maybe I can say something more about it in this way, that we are in the Netherlands also tax dutified, how do you call it, when we win something. But when you are in an organization, on a office, and you are getting a, how do you call it, a raffle for the best world champions match, who will win the world champions football match, then you don't have to pay anything. So we are thinking now about the foundation of UBI for All, that people who like to attend as a participant and like to win the 800 euros for 1 year per month, they are friends of the friends of UBI. So it's a legal construction to avoid tax paying, at least in more countries, not only in the Netherlands. But we are still studying on it.
Interesting news, Willem.
Thanks.
Dear Helvig, I guess there's no more questions. Can I ask a few? In fact, I was following this project since several years, but my questions in my mind are, the first issue is the transparency issue. Is there a kind of third-party audit in your system? I mean, both the raffle and the financials, the donations, etc. I mean, how do you defend yourself? Is there a kind of third-party financial audit or something like this? The second is, you mentioned about 15 member states who will be passing to the ECI UBI. Is Germany included or excluded? Or in case included, are you be competing in Germany with the Mein Grundeinkommen and the other one? So this is the second question. And third one is, during one of the Nordic UBI meetings, or Nordic BN meetings, I don't remember well, we met with some friends who do have graduate degree, about more than 50,000 people. They have a kind of closed insurance system. I mean, when they do not have job, it's a kind of security for them. Do you have any such connections? I mean, does this raffle system is getting in contact with some existing networks or not, or any organic interaction? I mean, just talking.
Sorry, the last answer I didn't understand.
The first question was third-party audit, transparency issues. The second question was, is Germany included in the ECI UBI Raffle 2? And third one is, do you have any organic connection with existing networks?
Well, yeah, the audit transparency. So for the European UBI Raffle, the Dutch guys founded a stichting, a foundation, and we have to report to the authorities regularly and frequently. So there is the normal transparency, I would say. But on the website, we want to have a progress bar that all the users and especially the donators and participants of the raffle can see how the UBI progress is, up to 9,600 euro. That is 100%. Yes, Germany is included in that number of the supported countries. Yeah, of course, for Mein Grundeinkommen, it's not a problem. I mean, they have a really safe basis, and the ECI project is only temporary. And everything the UBI topic helps is also good for Mein Grundeinkommen. So there's no conflict. Yeah, the third questions, I don't really understand, but I think you asked for some network we are connected with. So for Mein Grundeinkommen, yes, we are connected with the national players, in the in politics, and also companies and the NGO. So we really know a few guys in the parties and are well connected with them. For the ECI UBI Raffle, I mean, we just started, and the connection is you and all the national coordinators, all the ECI activists, and we just started. So if you have a good recommendation for which network could be helpful, you're welcome.
Thank you. One other question from the Reinhard. Reinhard, are you there? The Reinhard? Okay.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, first of all, congratulations on this two projects. It's excellent. I have a question regarding how shall I say, political feasibility or promotion, because in my experience, the main argument against a UBI is its financial viability. So the first argument is it cannot be financed, and if this dies down or is overcome, there are much better ways to use the finance for services and so on. So I suppose you have discussed this sort of issue, because your Mein Grundeinkommen doesn't really address this issue, which I find is the main barrier, and I think it will be the main barrier with Olaf Scholz as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, we decided to not mention the financial question on UBI, because first it's necessary to want it, that the society want it, and then we can discuss how to finance. I mean, there are lots of UBI finance systems we could choose and talk about, but then the discussion goes into numbers and systems and speculations. And so we decided not to talk about the finance UBI, but to produce more the willing, produce more that the people want to test it first and then want to have it. And on this basis, it's easy, I think, or it's more easy to arrange a financing system. So this is a tactical thing we decided for Mein Grundeinkommen. And I mean, on the stage we are now with the UBI in Europe, I can say it's not the right time to talk about financing. Yeah, we just work on that. On that people want to have it or would like to discuss about it and want to know more about it, and we need the scientific stamp. I think the financial question will come out later.
Thank you very much, Helvig. I guess, there's one more from Janus. Did Janus?
Thanks. Well, what do you think? Maybe we still should mention when promoting the ECI. We should mention that we will vote for the discussion and perhaps some document, some decision in EU level, but we will not suggest any financing scheme because just we have there are many possibilities, and anyway such schemes will be discussed by the EU politics.
Jans, let me say, if you talk about numbers, you lose the debate. Yeah, that's a very short answer on this.
Yeah.
The Switzerland, the Swiss campaign in 2016 was very successful, in my view, and they didn't talk about numbers, and that was their advantage.
I mean, they talked only about one number. It was 2,500 francs by month, and I think they talk too much about such number. My tactics in Estonia is that I spoke about very different numbers. Nobody thinks that if we vote for the idea itself, that we vote for one or other number. Thank you.
Totally agree with you.
Thank you, dear friends. There are two more contributions, Ingun and Julio. Dear Ingun, would you please unmute yourself? Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much for the information, because we heard about this project in Berlin in 2018 when we had the European gathering for the UBI there. So I bought the book, but I don't know German, so it was very nice to be updated in English. And I think it's really interesting that it's possible to collect that much money. And it sounds like you said you were 30 people working with it. Are those volunteers or are they paid to work for it? Because it seems like if there are 30 people working on it, it has to be a lot of money going to the administration. So that was a question. And the other comment I have is that there are lots of trials, and some have different goals. So it's I think it's really okay that this trial is going the way it is doing, and it will collect very valuable experience, although the financial part is not taken care of. I think Rutger Bregman has said so much smart things about that the only viable way for UBI to be financed is through taxes, that we really need to have the taxes risen to finance UBI on a long term for whole countries. But that's not possible yet. Sadly, it's not. We haven't got that political consensus yet. So it's just like I just want to appreciate the work you're doing, and think that it's valuable, although the financial part is not taken care of in this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we are not working honorary, but we are paid. We are regular employees.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you to the Kroathörnchen. Maybe here is one Kroathörnchen. And do you expect an answer or a statement on your second issue?
No, that's it. If you like.
Okay, and the last contribution, dear Julio. Okay, please, Julio.
Hello, Helvig. Thank you for your introduction. I'm Julio from Guatemala, here in Berlin. At the moment, I wanted to ask about if the raffle that you're doing now will be a pilot conducted also at random, in the sense that the raffle will be given to individuals spread out all over Germany, and then also for the European wide, also kind of like spread out depending on who gets it. And I'm wondering if, have you thought about the possibility of having some sort of like a village or a town that, you know, also gets raffled and gets a UBI? Because if you don't do, I mean, often the issue with this sort of randomization is that you lose the community effects, as we saw in Finland, when you have this type of more decentralized effort, I guess. Yeah, that's kind of like my question.
Yeah. So the concept of Mein Grundeinkommen or the European Raffle does not work with a number of winners getting the UBI in one community, because it's a winning game and everybody need to, or everybody should attend this winning game. And so we cannot say only guys from Berlin can attend or something like this. So this is one point. We cannot do this, but there were some projects a few years ago, but it didn't work from a legal side. And now the Expedition Grundeinkommen in Germany, you know this, you're settled in Berlin, they're going to plan this. They want to initiate the, what do you say, Volksabstimmung?
A plebiscite.
Yeah, yeah. And so they want to arrange the UBI test in some certain areas of Germany. Yeah, so from a legal side, it's really difficult because it's yeah, in the legal side, everybody you have to from the government has to explain why it gives some people basic income and some not. You know, that's the main point why it is very difficult to arrange this from a legal side.
Okay, thank you very much. I guess no more contributions and questions. Dear Haluk, thank you very much for this presentation. And I missed certain points, but I will watch the video recordings once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have some recommendation for web designer. Please think of me. Thank you.
Okay. Dear friends, we can continue with our agenda. The second item or second main contribution is colonialism and basic income by our dear friends Barb Jacobson and Sarat Davala. Dear Barb, dear Sarat, word is yours. We are all muted.
Yeah, Barb is here. Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Okay, from that excellent discussion on what is happening now, this topic is basically to highlight a certain perspective that we as a global movement need to seriously think of. And usually colonialism is not a topic that is opened in a polite conversation or in polite company, because it raises many strong emotions of the oppressor, the victims, and the reparations and historical corrections and all that. But as a global movement, we cannot be dealing only with the immediacy of our immediate socio-economic and socio-political circumstances. We have to have a global and a historical perspective. I mean, this is not some kind of a moral lesson that Bob and I have weaved to tell you. It's not in that spirit, but it's also important that in order to appreciate and understand the different movements, basic income movements that are happening across the globe, across continents, and more countries are coming into it. In order to develop our own sense of solidarity, it's important that we have this kind of a historical and a global perspective, because it's not just about the past, it's about the present. Colonialism has not gone. I was reading Linda Smith's recently decolonizing methodologies, research methodologies. I believe she narrates a story in a conference on post-colonial. So one of the Maori tribal scholar got up and asked, post-colonial, have they already left? So it's not about the past, it's not about trying to find who was at fault and what reparations, but it's about the present, the way our interconnectedness operates today, the way an inequality intensive country subsidizes and less inequality intensive country, I mean, in relatively egalitarian country. How does those relationships operate? So I think it's important for all of us to open this conversation and not leave that to the historians and to esoteric scholars, but to bring it to the public square, make it a common sense conversation. So that is the most important thing. And also, there are just 2 points I will raise and then leave it to Bob, because Bob has a presentation, an excellent presentation she has made. We should also, in the global movement, in the basic income movement, we should also not get too caught up in our national context and the national situation. When we have this perspective, the way we define the problem, the way we define and also come with solutions will completely change when we have this perspective. So the whole appeal is that we need to look at our present with the lens of the past. We need to look at our national context with the lens of the global context, what is happening. Then I feel very optimistic that we will come out with really, really out of the box solutions. I leave it to Bob. Bob, please.
Thank you, Ralph. Yeah, just to say also, this is something that the 2 of us have been speaking about, and certainly other people who are on this call. So thank you for all your insights that I've certainly learned a lot from. And this is a kind of impressionistic presentation, if you see what I mean. I don't normally do presentations where I'm basically reading from slides, but I felt that because many of us do not have English as a first language, that it would be good to do a presentation and, be able to show people. Okay, here we go. Right, I'll share my screen. There we go. Yeah, so we decided to call this, How Can We Understand Basic Income Through a Colonial Historical Lens? Yeah, and so the introduction, as Sarath said, okay, some people will know this information already, and others may be new to the subject. It's certainly been my experience that many people in colonizing countries are not taught this side of their history in school. The causes of the income imbalances within and between countries need to be better understood by all. Hopefully some will have gained an education from the recent Black Lives Matter protests, which have been global, and the rallies around the world. This is not to guilt trip people from Europe and the Americas, but to bring to the front of people's minds consideration of what solidarity with the struggles of people in colonized countries might mean in terms of basic income and in practical terms. We have to look at these things as facts of our current existence and use our relative comfort to do what we can to right the wrongs we've inherited from our forebears. And then just to say, just a little history, I'll get into more history of colonialism, but I think it's also very much a connection in the sense that it's come from the commons. The income was born in Europe after common land, which fed people, started to be enclosed for the exclusive use of owners. So people lost their right to subsistence. This process also, and this is the connection with basic income, this process started about the same time as European governments and corporations started to trade slaves and colonize other parts of the world. And we date that from Thomas More in the 1500s. Therefore, the basic income movement cannot ignore this history and the present reality of colonization. And we also should remember that so-called uncivilized peoples had already practiced for time untold the principle of not letting anyone in their societies starve for lack of food or die for lack of shelter. Okay, a bit of history. Empires have existed since at least the beginning of agriculture, although some date this from the Bronze Age, about 3,000 years ago. They have all been extracted enterprises. The colonizers took and still take more out of colonies than they ever put in. Nearly all have a story they tell themselves, and that's what most of us hear in the colonizing countries in school about how they were civilizing the peoples who came under their rule, which more often than not was a cover for huge violence and cruelty the people back home rarely hear about. The last 400 years of empire building by states in Europe and now the US and US corporations has been a particularly expansive, violent, and extractive era. From the Portuguese raiders in Africa to the Spanish conquistadores, to the various settler colonies of England, the Netherlands, France, Belgium, Sweden, Germany, Italy, and other countries in Europe, to the current domination by US corporations and military might behind the US dollar, all of us with these heritages, either rich or poor, need to acknowledge that inasmuch as we do live in material comfort, this was in part extracted from a poorer country or people. We need to understand and appreciate the extractive nature of our current system, how this steals not only physical resources, but people's time. History has meant that this theft, while it affects all people globally, burdens colonized and formerly colonized peoples the most. So colonialism today. Of course, most people in Europe and America are not the direct beneficiaries of this plunder and have been or are being plundered themselves. They have, however, benefited from services and transfers which are part of their welfare states and the products available to them commercially. This is in part paid for and facilitated by the system of plunder and the wars which enforce it. So therefore, we can't pretend that it doesn't exist somewhere. If basic income is achieved in these countries, it will also be in part paid for via the past and current colonial extractive systems. We need to understand that whatever gains are made in historical colonizing countries in terms of welfare or social support, or even a full basic income, will be at least in part paid for by poor people in the global South. Sorry to repeat that point, but I think it's very important for people to understand. Okay, this is just a graphic. I think it's from one of the NGOs, which just shows, how much. So we've got here in the green arrow is how much overseas aid Africa gets, the different countries in Africa get. And these other arrows, all here are the kinds of resources, payments, extraction that happens. All right, so Africa may get $30 billion in overseas aid, but $192 billion is taken out of Africa every year. And we should also remember that often this overseas aid is tied to companies, tied to contracts with companies in the countries which are supposedly giving the aid. So in fact, a lot of the money actually goes directly back to the country that is supposedly giving the aid. Okay, this is, I just wanted to talk about one example. Let me just go to my next slide and we can come back to this actually. Okay, so just today, I just wanted to talk about a couple of examples of this. So today we have mobile phones, which most of us have now. The materials are, these are just examples. This is not a direct thing, but materials are mined in Peru, the Congo, and Mongolia. You have parts manufactured in Vietnam. They're put together in China. They're bought and then later thrown away in London. And then of course, the end of that cycle, we have to remember, they end up in landfill, which is picked over by the poorest in, say, and other countries as well, the Philippines, Nigeria, or Indonesia. It has been estimated that the total distance traveled by the materials and parts of one smartphone from mining to disposal is equivalent to the distance between the Earth and the Moon. This is not only a burden on the environment, but on the people. The only activity entirely free of violence or financial compulsion in this life cycle happens when the phone is bought in London. This is also where most of the profits from all of this pass through if they don't actually end up here. And I'll just go back to the other slide. This is actually a map that Fairphone put together about where its materials come from and where they go to. Fairphone is one of the few ethical mobile phone companies, but even they, all right, are looking at materials and parts coming from different places. Yeah, so I mean, I'll share this later and people can look at it. There's also a little bit of extra info there. Okay. Okay, then the other big issue, I think, in the world stage today is domestic labor. The International Labor Organization came out with this figure in 2015 that nearly 1 in every 5 domestic workers is an international migrant. I would say in Europe and in America, it's more like it's much higher. It's more like 3 or 4 and 5, particularly women are involved with the domestic labor market. So the other example is women who come from the global south to work in the northern care industry. So the woman who is involved with this, she leaves her kids with her parents or extended family, say in the Philippines. She'll cross oceans to look after another woman's kids, often so that that other woman can do a better, that is a higher paid job. She'll send the money back to the Philippines so her family can eat, or they also, you know, sometimes they buy or improve property or make sure that they try to make sure that their existence is much more secure in one way or the other. Sometimes the distances traveled are not so great, but the dynamic is the same. And we certainly see this in Europe with the so-called freedom of movement is actually freedom to work, only to work. And, you know, so we have like one of the impetuses for Brexit was people complaining that there were all these Eastern Europeans coming here and taking jobs. But in fact, people did jobs that nobody else wanted to do. And those, you know, so we've got a kind of really terrible income inequality within Europe, as well as between Europe and the rest of the world. Okay, just a couple of conclusions. Whoops, wait a minute. Okay, so we see the effects on not just a particularly large patch of land on a particular continent, but throughout the whole world now. Colonial and post-colonial extraction and violence affects everybody. The wars and police actions conducted to protect colonial and post-colonial extraction kill and injure many thousands each year. People in the North also lose as military budgets eat into what's available for social protection. Though for some, the effects seem relatively pleasant, you get a new phone or cheap childcare, we all lose by the effects of this system. If we are to be a truly global movement, united for basic income, we must understand the different specific circumstances people face and how a regular individual amount of money would interact with them and how much even a small amount could mean for some people. What a particular amount of money would mean has to be assessed on local circumstances, also taking into consideration free state services and other tangible resources available, like land or animals. A lot of what we also have to remember that a lot of what goes on in any economy is not monetized, whether that's child or animal care, farming, craft work, barter, or gifting. The proportion of unmonetized activity is higher in poorer countries, and it is these subsistence activities which are often targeted for extraction and or destruction by current colonial practice. This drives rural people into cities and poor people everywhere to emigration to wealthier parts of the world. And just as a last thing, just to say that there is also the symbolic value of giving every individual the same amount as a tangible and useful recognition that everyone is equal. Now, we do have a proposal, but we'd like to leave that until people have a chance to digest this, and we can talk about it later. I've just very, very incomplete resource list here of some links and things that people can read. And with that, I will stop sharing. Yeah. So yeah, any questions or comments? So we just did really want to raise this. Yeah, Reinhard? Reinhard, do you want to?
Okay, thank you, Bob, and for this excellent presentation. I really enjoyed this presentation. I just have two comments or suggestions. One is where I feel it's a bit misleading is this transaction of the phone in London, which doesn't involve any violence. For me, I call this embodied violence and exploitation, and that is exactly part of the problem, that people think when they buy the cheapest phone or the cheapest banana, that it's just a normal transaction, but don't bother about what is behind it. So I feel this is very much a very important point, which is ignored by most people in Europe and the United States. The same applies with childcare and so on when people come here. And the other point is about the migrants. In my experience, it's actually not the poorest of the poor who migrate. It's the people who are sort of more what you would call in the middle, who feel they can improve, because the poorest of the poor cannot even think, at least from my experience working in Africa, to migrate to Europe. It's the educated one who see what is possible in Europe. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's still understandable and clear, but it's often educated people who feel they have no opportunity in their country and they don't see a chance, who decide to move, and it's often supported by the whole community or the whole family in order to get somebody with a better income to support the family and the community. Thank you.
Absolutely, Reinhard. I would say also that it's a real cause of brain drain from various poorer countries. Certainly in the UK, that's I think it's quite a big issue. You know, when we talk about, say, the NHS and all the migrants who are working in the NHS, that's the National Health Service here. You know, there's nothing really said, you know, about you know, what is the Philippines, you know, all the I don't know what proportion of nurses are from the Philippines, all right, but it's huge, all right, and porters and all the people who actually keep the NHS running. There's a huge proportion of them who are migrants, and there are also people that are missed by their own country, you know, by the countries that they came from. So, yeah, that's how I would say about that. But thank you, Reinhard. Ingun?
Thank you so much. It was a great presentation, and I've been working on these topics because I'm working in the international group of the Green Party in Norway. And I have tried to explain people why we need to repair for the damage done by both colonization and capitalism. And I just want to ask both of you, but especially Sarat, if when I have tried to put the argument this way, that the colonization was switched into private colonization from governments during the colonization, what we usually call colonization, and now the private companies have taken over. So I'm helping people to understand that it's like just switching from governments during the colonization to capitalist companies, private companies doing the same way. Thank you for nodding. I see that you agree. And then I also try to explain that it's like the chains and the whip of the slavery is exchanged into money. That money does the same, has the same effect as the chains, the slavery chains had. When the slaves were need to walk around with slings and were whipped and harmed physically to do the work, and that the money actually does the same kind of slavery with less direct violence now sometimes, but still it's like the effect of using poor countries' population to do the work. So I just would like to have some response if you agree with this way of putting it, that I try to help people understand the problems. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly, I mean, that's exactly, it's an extension of what we just presented. I think the multinational companies, the private companies, and what exactly. So when they go in search of cheap labor, which is the basis of all the business models and the supply chains, when they go in search of the cheap labor, I think the other way of looking at it is that this cheap labor are actually subsidizing the luxurious lifestyles in the rich countries. That is one way of looking at it. And I think that's a real way of looking at it. It's the same that what patriarchy has done of stealing labor from women. So I think we have to be conscious of this, and our articulation of basic income and our solutions have to flow from this kind of a deep understanding of both history and the global interconnection.
Yeah, thank you, Sarath. I mean, I would just say that, like, at the beginning of colonialization, certainly in the 15 and 1600s, and for the UK, it was actually run by companies, by private companies who were working. Obviously, they were working with governments, all right. But yeah, it was originally a private. So if you look at something like the East India Company, they were a private company, but they were working with. You know, the government, you know, would send in their gunboats in order to protect, but they also had their own gunboats. Okay, so, you know, I mean, it was a very much, you know, as it still is, a kind of symbiotic relationship. I mean, if you read something like the Confessions of an Economic Hitman, he goes into huge detail about his role in South America, in different countries in South America, telling them that they really needed these loans, and if you didn't do what we told, but then if the countries didn't do what he thought was best, then the U.S. would send in the army. Okay, so that's also worked like that. Diana, you had a point, and
Thank
then
you. Thanks for raising this really important subject. It really goes into my work on basic income and the Middle East, actually. And I would suggest that you could maybe, you know, humbly suggest that you can add actually imperialism to colonialism, because it's also very much, accurate, current in our time. And I'd be really interested in knowing sort of what you mentioned, that you have some suggestions. What I've been thinking of is actually a basic income through reconstruction funds, so post-conflict reconstruction, right? Because usually there's a lot of money that goes into the country to help build it back after a war. But what often happens is that it's the same countries that help finance the war that actually want to benefit from the reconstruction. And so this is kind of my thinking is, you know, at least some money, some funds of the reconstruction funds should go in a form of a basic income to reach the people that need it most. But I'll be really eager to hear your thoughts on your proposal. Thanks.
For sure. Thank you, Diana. And certainly you're working at the cutting edge of this. So yeah. Julio, and then Kaide.
And Peter Knight.
Sorry?
Peter Knight is also raising.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see his hand.
Okay. Peter, you want to go first? I think you were holding your hand for a bit.
Peter?
Yeah, my comment was very brief, is that I'm in the midst of reading Thomas Piketty's Ideology and Capital and Ideology, and as far as empirical analysis of extraction in slave societies and colonial societies, as well as more modern things, it's really a fantastic piece. I recommend it highly. That's all I said. I was going to talk about the East India Company, but that's already been raised by you.
Great, thank you, Peter. Julio, and then Kaidikak.
Yeah, thank you so much, Barb and Sarat, for bringing this up. For me, this is a very often topic of every day in my life. I live in Germany, which is to be a bit I don't know, controversial, but it's like a small empire, let's say, within Europe. And coming from a colonized nation, Guatemala, I guess like for me, what was always interesting about basic income was this relationship that money had in relationship to freedom, but also to slavery, right? So like the state as the producer of money, and also banks, also this symbiosis you were mentioning, Barb, how that play a role. And what Ingo was saying of like the whip and like kind of like programming people into like wage slavery and all these sorts of things. And so like I often wonder, like the Maoris, the scholar was saying, how do we decolonize money, the methodology of money, how it's made, how it's distributed, and so on. I think basic income has a lot to do with that. But I think and this is where the contradictions come, right? Because the universal of a basic income, it ends at the nation state, like at the border, right? So for me, if there's a basic income in Germany, I would not get it, which is totally fine for me. I still fight for it. Like at the moment, for example, here, I'm working on a campaign to figure out how to do basic income for farmers in Germany. Why? Because there's a big EU Mercosur trade agreement that's happening, or that it's in the books to happen, whereby Brazil, Bolsonaro's government will just kill off the rest of the Amazon, put a bunch of soy and meat and move it to Europe. Which just means that the small and medium farmers here in Germany will die. Like they will not be able to produce, right? In Germany, there's a suicide of a farmer every 2 days, right? So for me, a basic income to farmers is an anti-imperialist politics against it. So as Sarah was saying, like the contradictions, that we have right now, it's that we're still sort of stuck in this nation state mindset where, we need to think in more broader terms, in other social forms. And those other social forms should have ways of giving people a basic income that is not part of the colonial imperialist complex, right? So yeah, how do we decolonize this? How do we decolonize money? This is something I work on, every day, and it's a political problem. It's also just a research thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just actually more to Ingun's point as well, of course, there was a big struggle against wage slavery at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Again, the whole enclosure movement robbed people of their ability to subsist on the land and not have to earn a wage. And similarly, these struggles are happening in other countries. Yeah, I think it's a lot of big questions you posed there, Julio, and I hope that we can kind of all work on that, work on those questions together. Kaidikak is the name on the screen.
Yes, hi, Bob. It's Cara from South Africa. I should probably change.
Oh, Cara. Oh, hi. I thought I recognized your face, and I was.
Yes, I sort of feel like I have to apologize. I haven't been on this forum for quite some time. We've had a very long lockdown, and with a 1-year and a 3-year-old, it's been quite a challenge for me. But it's been nice to at least, see all the emails and stuff. But I think this is an incredibly important topic that you're raising, also for us here in South Africa, because I think it speaks to two issues, important issues. It speaks to the general buy-in of people. My experience in South Africa is that in general, we're a conservative society, and people don't want to be seen as the recipients of welfare, a grant, a cash transfer. They don't want to be seen as beggars. But if you frame it differently, and you frame it as a reparation, or you frame it as a rightful share of the economy, then people are very much in support of it, and actually, think that this is definitely the way we should go. So I think that the topic speaks to general buy-in, specifically in conservative societies, and then also it also touches on how should you finance, this basic income. So in South Africa, for example, we already have a corporate tax that's sort of generated towards empowering people that were discriminated against during apartheid, but it's not really working. But you could redirect that money towards a basic income, actually. Mm-hmm. But I think it is very important topic. You know, I'm one of the people that are not very excited about the comments that the minister is making about a universal basic income. It's not a universal basic income on a practical level, not on a theoretical level. And I'll even go so far as to say, you know, I question the intentions behind it. It's my personal view. But yes, I want to support. I think it's an important topic to talk about, basic income, reparations. You know, it's a way of framing it that I think is important to many other countries, developing countries in particular. Thank you.
Great. Saras, do you want to respond, or do you?
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just was wondering, actually, could you just outline just very briefly what the proposal is in South Africa, because it's been in the press as basic income, right? So what is the differences between basic income, what we would call basic income, and what the government is proposing right now?
Well,
is it means tested as usual, or?
Well, the proposal is not, I mean, well, what you also have to take into consideration is they have been considering basic income grant for 20 years. And they have now said, you know, that there's definitely no, then COVID happened. And so they implemented this COVID relief grant, which is at extremely low financial value. And it is only given to people that receive no other government support. So if you were a mom, a poor mother, but you received a child grant, for example, you wouldn't have qualified for this COVID relief grant. The COVID relief grant was for 6 months, and it will end at the end of October. So obviously now there's calls for this grant to be made permanent, but the government has already said, you know, we'll have to see if there's financing for it. So they will maybe look at it in March. But I think if I have to guess, if they do it, it will be definitely means tested. It will be, you know, for people that don't have a job. And it will be at an extremely low financial value, probably set at something similar to what it is now, which is even below the food poverty line. And it will probably be financed through income taxes, or part of it. So my concern is, you know, I actually think it is quite important, the level that you set it at. And I also think the financing method is important, you know, because in my view, it's not going to do what it is supposed to do if you finance it from ordinary workers' pockets and set it at such a financial value so that it doesn't have the oomph to get stuff going. And in the meantime, you have an elite in terms of business, and a political elite, I want to say, that's in cahoots with each other, and that keeps on, you know, making us more unequal. So the intention for me behind this grant, my personal view, is that it's not done in recognition of the changing nature of the economy or work or creating a more socially just society. It is just given because of the severity of conditions on the ground, you know, and, you know, kind of giving people just something to shut them up in a way. It's my view.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes. I was about to get to you.
Thank you, Barb. Yes, thank you, Barb. So I raised my hands, and I want to say something. Post-colonialism, or you can call it new neo-colonialism, sometimes also appear in our behavior, in our mentality. Please don't take it personally, Barb, but the moderator is Ali and not you. So we say, you know, England rules the world. You always rule the world, or England always want to be the captain. Now, of course, you had a very good representation. We are thankful for that. But don't forget, now the moderator is Ali and not you. And of course, yes, then everybody has to change also, mainly not the whole Europe. I mean, mainly Western Europe. I mean, England, Great Britannia, France, Spain, Holland, mainly. So I must say, Eastern Europe. Yeah, we are going to work working in England, but Eastern Europe, mainly Hungary, Poland, Czechoslovakia, we have never had colonies. Bulgaria, we never had colonies, and we are proud of this. We never had colonies, near in Africa, nowhere. So please, if we want to build something new, so sometimes we have to change our mentality as well. So it's not only history, it's also behavior. So thank you.
Yeah, I just shortly add that Estonia and other Baltic states and also many other states were colonized in past.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, and that's, I mean, yeah, so like, I guess what we're trying to get at is the whole discussion around high enough and what is high enough and what can, because there was a proposal for a Euro dividend, which has, been criticized as not being high enough for Germans, so therefore it's not worth anything, but it would be a lot, it would, do a lot for places, like Estonia or Hungary or Bulgaria. Anyway, Saras, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Karen about this affordability issue. Where do we get the money from? I think, Karen, I think this is a question everybody is asking. All of us are asking. I think in India, the way we address that question is that let's do some housekeeping. Let's do some cleaning. Let's see how we are spending our current money. In fact, Rahul is here, and they have done a lot of work on that question, and they have really tremendous amount of work. Maybe he can comment on that. So I think we have to look at how we are apportioning our revenues and our expenditure. What are we doing with the current situation? And then I think we should raise the question of the commons. What happens to the commons? Where are the commons? Who is owning the commons? Who is extracting from the commons? So I think this question actually leads to many of those issues. And we have to have the time and the depth and the energy to get into all that. Rahul, if you want to say something.
Not very much. It's just, one thing that's, the whole point about somebody like Julio, who's a migrant into a country and therefore is in some ways excluded from a basic income in both places. He's not in Guatemala and he's not eligible in Germany. That is actually a pretty interesting and an important case that we should all be taking up. The other issue that, the one thing that I just sort of think about is we're trying to solve a question of inequity through a basic income, which is basically a question of equality. And there is some, intrinsic conflict in that, we have this in all parts of it, because we're trying to say that anytime we do a subsidy or a scheme for the poor, we're basically trying in most cases to deal with the problem of inequity. And then we say it's very hard to figure out, and then let's do it equally to everybody. But at some point, this may break down. When you have colonization, just giving a basic income equally to everybody is really not reparations in any way. It's sort of a band-aid over that. And that's just something to think about. I didn't see the whole presentation, so I must confess, I just came in on the last 2 or 3 slides. And in terms of funding, and we should link this conversation to the discussions on world basic income. Paul and Laura have been having that, as well as to the discussions at the more national level in terms of a commons. And the other conversation also to think about is Tadashi's idea of transnational corporations. I haven't seen him in any of these calls, but Tadashi's been talking about reparations by way of equity in transnational corporations in a global sovereign wealth fund.
So reparations not by the nation states, but by transnational corporations.
Yeah. So his idea was that by some sort of an international treaty, the global commons owns 51% of transnational corporations. I mean, there's detail need to be worked out, but that's also something to be thought about. But you know, there's a little bit of tension between this, you know, sort of colonization, inequity, global commons, and of course, the important thing is these edge cases, which are not so many edge cases, that even within India, the question of how to deal with migrants who are for 6 months in one location, 6 months in another location, and we are proposing a state-level basic income. You know, how do you make sure that they actually become eligible in different places? These are some very important questions which actually are part of this discussion you're raising.
Well, Tadashi is proposing a human endowment fund, which is financed essentially by the multinational, transnational corporations. I think the reason he's not attending these meetings is because he's writing that book. Anyway, Ali, to you. Bob, you are muted.
I'm sorry, yeah, Gerder, and then Sheila. Gerder, do you want to?
Yes, what I see in all our discussions, and I've seen it always, that we link always our structure to slavery. We are building our economical structure on slavery. It is master slave, it is employer employee. And we have to change that. We have to take employment out of this basic income discussion, because employment is giving employer our lifeline, you know, all over the place. And then we are talking about the corporations, and they're doing this and they're doing that, and different low income, high income, whatever income. And it is because we have handed it over to them. All unions always talk about income. Lower income, they have to get higher income and things like that. So we give it over to them. I think that we have to deal with, to split this two. The basic income should be a governmental issue, and the government can everywhere can afford it. It is just a decision of how to spend the money that they gain from taxes or from whatever. And that has to be just a governmental thing. And the deal between about paid work has to be between the employer and the employee. And the unions have to work there on this, between those two. Not, you know what I mean. And as we are always basing our existence on our slavery, then it will keep on. So my suggestion is to cut these two from each other. That was all for the moment.
Thanks. Sorry, Ali, if I've kind of taken over the chair here. I don't know if you want to.
You're very welcome to it.
All right, I thought I'd give you a break.
First of all, I would like to make it very clear that I'm not chairing. I am just trying to make things easy for us.
Okay.
Secondly, I am learning a lot. That's why I'm happy. But the biggest problem is I have questions, but I cannot raise my hand because hosts cannot raise hands.
Okay. Go for it, Ali.
Okay, now that Bob is the chair, you can raise your hand.
Yeah.
Let me tell why, when Barb mentioned about this issue, why I asked Barb, why don't you make a presentation? And then she invited Sarah too, and then we have this chance to listen to you. I would like to share something. It's an Excel file. In fact, I shared it at the chat box too. You can download if you like. Where was it? It's about the languages spoken all around the world. And maybe it's better. Okay, 1 second. Where is the language? Okay, I'm 1 second. I'm opening it. I think it's important. One second here. Okay, here.
send it out by email to everybody, or you need to discuss it now? We discussed it a couple of other times too, right?
No, very quickly. I will go to the summary page. You have it in the chat box, but you need to download it. In summary page, you see that almost 50% of the countries do speak somehow English. I mean, maybe official language or a language used within the people, between the people, etc. So almost 50% of the people, or 50% of the countries, they have some connection with English. And population-wise, it is 53%. You see from the first column. Similar things are also valid. For example, the Portuguese language. It's about 4 or 5%. If you make a campaign in Portuguese, all the campaign material for UBI can be used in Brazil, for example. They do speak Portuguese language. That was the point. I mean, because in the coming ECI, there will be 27 countries and 24 different official languages and more than 60 indigenous languages. So this makes a huge set of languages. And these will be used during a campaign. So all the campaign material will be followed by the world through the social media or through the web-based communication tools, etc. That was my interest. And then we jump to the colonialism. And you see, these things are very effective, very in correlation with each other. That was the point. But my question is to Sarat. He mentioned that, if I'm not mistaken, any solution with national perspective will totally change. Am I correct, Sarat? I mean, any solution with national perspective will totally change, I mean, in the future.
Yeah, should I clarify what I meant that when you have a global and historical perspective, the way you look at solutions will change. Yeah. The way you look at your national context also will change, in the sense that you will have more options to think of. Will have, I mean, it opens up. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
it's a perspective.
No, my question is very simple. I don't want to take a lot of time because I know Peter will make a nice presentation. Considering the existing political structures, I mean, considering the existing governing bodies, the governments, do you think it is possible to implement UBI with a global perspective? I mean, this is just a technical question. Second question is, if not, should we consider or should we eliminate such attempts, I mean, and continue in the national level, or no, continue in the global level, or should we consider it as a first step for the global basic income concept? I mean, because you see, while campaigning in different countries, if you talk about the global basic income or worldwide basic income, then you see some resistance. So do you think it's good to fight with them, or should it be the first step?
No. I agree with the first step part. I agree with the first step part. See, I agree with the first step part. I'm not against the national, asking for a national basic income. That's not the point at all. The point is that we have to, what we have to fight, but we have to keep a global perspective. When I say global perspective, I don't mean global basic income or world basic income. I'm saying a global perspective or interconnectedness, and a historical perspective of what we are today comes from there. So that's the perspective. It's not about that you should not ask for a national basic income. That's not the point. Because that national basic income will be one step, and then we have, as a movement, we have to have a much larger vision. That's all I meant. It's only about perspective, not about what demands you will make.
Okay, thank you.
Am I clear? Bob, would you like to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, again, the World Basic Income people, Paul and Laura, have done some great work on how this could be done on a global scale, but we have another proposal, but we'd like to leave it until the next meeting to actually discuss, if that's okay, because we wanted, people to have a chance to think about, what we've just said and what we've been talking about. Now, there are two people who've raised their hands. Sorry, Ollie, I'm stepping in his chair again. Yeah, Ivailo Ivailo and then Sheila. Sheila raised her hand too.
Okay,
So Ivailo?
I want to share something. The most important things is the informal workers and the society that many people is going outside of the system. And the basic income we need for this, because the colonialism and the globalism is the same things. With the globalism that can be done the last years, the 30 years, they have sick, I use this word, the blood of people all over the world. And if you want to have basic income, we can do the basic income only in the national economy, but we need to work the basic income for the global, the world, because we don't have chance to have the same basic income, but you have chance to say to all the people all over the world to know the situation. Because now what is going in the Western countries, because this is mostly the Western problem, every people now, they don't have pension. All the pension fund all over the Europe and America, they are stealing. There is not money. And also there is something more. They don't have where to invest the money. Because in Bulgaria now what happened? They came the globalists and they colonized all the strategic Bulgarian businesses. And in this moment in Bulgaria, we don't have business who can be invested the pension for the people. And this is a very big problem. And also they have this is the, how to say this, is when they're taking the earth and they're taking the resource of the country. This is they're doing all over the world. They're taking the water, they're taking the gold, they're taking the mines. All these things is a globalism that is the same colonialism that one woman told before that this is now the corporation globalism. And they're using in this moment with this is the democracy that we don't have all over the world now. This is not democracy. This has nothing to democracy. We need to fight for the basic income, and also we need to have the direct democracy. Because now our democracy in Europe is coming from the Brussels. But the people in the Brussels who is staying in the parliament, they don't care not for me, they care not for Bulgaria. They're not care for their countries. And we need somehow to look very well for this, and we need to see that many people is out of the system. In this moment, I told you, this is the informal workers that Barbara thought about, the domestic workers, but there is self-employment, there is the home workers, and there is the street workers all over the world. And this is 2 billion people all over the world. And now in Africa, they're destroying all the middle companies. They're destroying all the middle companies in Eastern Europe. And all these people, they go to the street. They couldn't work because in this moment, if you lose the jobs, you couldn't go back in the system. For that, we need the basic income. Just I wanted to share these things, and we need to see how to speak about this. Also, I want to mention something. We spoke with Ali, but because here is people all over the world in this moment, maybe all the people all over the world, all of them, they have people in Europe, they can speak with these people to signature, because if we make the more than 1 million signature in European Union, this will be very big things that will go all over the news. And we need all of us to use this moment to make more famous the basic income through the AC Europe UBI that we are doing in this moment. This is from me.
Thank you, Ivailo. I guess Sheila was raising her hand.
Yeah, Sheila.
Hopefully, we will have time for Peter Knight too. He's ready for additional presentation. Dear Sheila, please.
I will try to be very brief then. I first wanted to, I'll go backwards. I wanted to comment on something that Julio put in the chat box and about, you know, some of these countries who have disengaged from the international world. And I think that's why you have to have nation states like Germany, like Canada, like people like India, people like countries who are multinational players to bring in you know, whatever they can do to bring big income into that national stream. And then as member states of multilateral organizations, you have more power to work on global things. And apropos of this, I mean, mostly for Canadians, but anybody, this session has been really interesting because there's a webinar on August 31st out of socialcanada.org looking at fair and effective taxation on global corporations. So that should be really interesting. Also, a quick example of the kind of thing that Sarath was talking about in national policy. So there's one of our political parties has put forward a proposal for a basic income. Doesn't focus on the numbers, it focuses on who needs to be part of this. And it includes, for example, temporary foreign workers, which have really dubious status in Canada. But like we actually checked this very carefully with a tax expert to figure out, yeah, we can do this. So it's a way of bringing that global perspective in because Canada, like others, depends a lot on immigrants and temporary foreign workers of all sorts. There are also moves largely in the United States to look at something called like basic income plus, that includes basic income for everybody plus reparations, especially for Black people. And Paul Taylor, who's part of the basic income movement in Canada, is more and more talking about that in the Canadian context too.
Thank you, Sheila. Any other contributions, or dear Barb, dear Sarath, would you like to say anything additional? No, I guess.
Just to say thank you for having us have this discussion, and thank you to Sarath, who I learned a lot from. And yeah, it's just as a continuing discussion. We will have a proposal for next meeting, but we just wanted to, for people just to bring this forward in people's minds as a question for the basic income movement. And again, thank you very much for everyone's time and interest.
Yeah, just thank you so much. I think the whole idea was to open the conversation, and I think it should be an ongoing conversation. So maybe a couple of months, a couple of weeks later, I think we can have another session, not us presenting, but somebody else offering to make a presentation. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Interesting presentation. Dear friends, our next agenda item is reports or news from the working groups. Peter Knight would like to, and we can continue with the others. But in the meantime, may I ask, dear Sheila, and in fact, from all of you, in case you do see something interesting, an webinar or an event or a report or document, whatever, would you please share at the email group so that we can follow it, or the ones who are not here can also follow these discussions. For example, that webinar on 31st of August might be interesting. Thank you. Dear Peter?
Can you allow me to share screen?
You are co-host, dear Peter.
Okay. Yes, okay. Share. Okay, so this is a report basically of what Ali, myself, and Hannes have been working on, of a global map of UBI networks. It's a very provisional map, but it's made using something called Easy Map Maker that I use for other maps, and I pay a subscription per month to have this so I can add any number of maps. So I've done this using the data that's been collected. Let me explain briefly, not to take a lot of time, how it works. This is a provisional version, and you can see the URL. I put it in the chat. It's available. It's not on the website visible in its menu, but if you copy the URL that you see there, I put it up on the Sufficiency for Sustainability Networks website. How does it work? It's searchable. So you can search by the name of the network, you can search by country, or you can search by city. For example, if I click on Braga, it'll zoom right in on this network. If you click on the pin, then you get the basic data about this network and how to contact them. The idea is I'd like to encourage you all to, let me zoom out again if I can do that. It's obviously very incomplete. There's a description because it's based on the data that we've collected, and I'm going to show you how you can add to it. Let's see if I can scroll down here. Yeah, so on that page, there's an explanation of how to use the map. It explains how it was originated, what the thing is, and then there's the link where you can fill in this questionnaire that Ali and Hannes developed that allows us to produce a spreadsheet which are then input into Easily Map Maker and make these maps. So I noticed there are a lot of people in the discussion whose networks are not in this session, those networks are not yet in it. And I just encourage you to add your names to it. And Ali, maybe you want to say something more yourself.
Thank you, Peter. Dear friends, this project, I mean, the global map of UBI networks is an infrastructure project. What I mean by infrastructure, based on this project, we can develop other collaborative projects. And we should, I would like to thank to Luc Gosselin for his help, and also to Robin Kittlers also. They provided some data or past maps, but they were not updated, and they were inactive. But still, it's something, and we are using all the data. One thing I would like to say is that I will share soon. I just received today. I couldn't prepare the email. For example, Basic Income Lab in Stanford University, they had prepared 2 maps. One map is for the basic income studies all around the world. And the other map is basic income experiments all around the world. This is interesting. And previously, the French organization MFRB, I guess, they had prepared basic income experiments all around the world also. It was in French. I couldn't understand well. I think it was from Luc Gosselin, thanks him. So the thing is, these maps are giving an idea what is happening where, and also when you click there, you are having the details. So very quickly and easily. Also, you can download them. For example, this map, which we are trying to prepare, we will share all the data together with the map and as an Excel sheet. So anybody will be able to use it, like the previous Record Book of UBI Advocates. One last thing I would like to add.
Can I add that not only we have a code for embedding it on your website. Yes. We have just the URL of the map you don't need to take it off of some other website. You can just give somebody the URL, and I think it's, and we're going to be updating it regularly as we get more information in. Ali collects the information, then updates the spreadsheet and input it, and so it's not going to be static unless we die off or we get tired of this. So.
Yep. I forgot. I was trying to say one more thing, but I forgot.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot.
More networks in, and we can include links on anyone's page. We can take the links from the Basic Income Lab in Stanford and put them onto the page too, so that people can access other forms of infrastructure, as Ali puts it.
One last thing I would like to say, I just remember now. You know, we have the Basic Income Week coming between 14th and 20th of September. And we thought it might be a good opportunity to launch the map on 15th of September. It's again a Tuesday, but not overlapping with our meeting. But it will be a small event there. We will launch the website or the link, because all websites can use that link, as Peter mentioned. And also we will share the information gathered in an Excel format. About this working group number 51, is there any question or any contributions? It will develop further. That's all I can say at the moment. One last thing I would like to say before the others. I sent a message today because dear Enno Schmidt from Switzerland, he asked which working groups are active and what they are doing exactly. And I started to prepare a table. I shared the table with you. Now I will put another column with the current status of these working groups. Then I will share it again too. In fact, when you look at this table, you can have a general idea about what the working groups are doing. Okay. Any friends who would like to contribute? Maybe we didn't hear any from Robin. Robin, any news from you? You are muted, I guess.
I just took part of this conversation very late, so I missed more of the half of it, and I'm very busy with the raffle. I assume Helvig has told you all about it. So it's very interesting to hear about the colonization, and I totally agree with Gerder and Ivalio about what's happening today in the world, and it has to be changed. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Shobana, would you like to say any news from India or from your activities?
Yeah, we have initiated, maybe because it's too late, I thought we'll share in the next week or in the next meet.
Okay. But we will meet on Saturday.
Yeah, we have informed some of the groups to register for the maps, which was initiated by the working groups. And so some more organizations will register subsequent to, and actually we are meeting and we are getting ready to initiate our national campaign along with the other countries on 25th of September.
That's great.
So from today for the next 1 month, we are in the preparation mode. Yeah. So for 2 days, me and Sharath met, and today actually few of the members met, and we are some nearly 31 volunteers have registered themselves, and we are now in the working mode, preparation mode.
That's great. So that's great.
Maybe in the next meeting we'll be able to present something valid.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Who else didn't say anything? John, dear John, would you like to say anything? But I will ask you one thing at the end to the Canadian friends, especially. Look, do you have any contributions? No. Ulrike, dear Ulrike, are you there? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, would you like to say anything or any contributions?
Yes, of course, I'm here. It was very interesting and I enjoyed joining the meeting today. And in Germany, we do a lot of expedition, as what Helvig told. I'm working in this group.
That's great.
Yes, and also we are looking forward the international week of basic income at September, and there we are preparing some meetings.
Ulrike, can I ask a question?
In Hamburg.
Can I ask 2 questions?
Yes, of course.
Is this expedition project in connection with the Basic Income Party, the political party? And the second question is, do you think it might be interesting to make a presentation? What is this expedition project during this meeting, so that it may give an inspiration to our friends?
Well, I can try. Yes, of course.
I had listened some details when we had the meeting in Portugal.
Yes.
You remember there was a group of gentlemen, they were talking about this project, and it's very nice to hear that they realize it.
Yeah, I can tell some words. Expedition basic income in Germany, we have 5.
Ulrike, we can put it on the agenda, announce it, and with more friends, we can give some details. It will be interesting.
Yes, I will try.
Okay, that's great. Any other friends? Kimberly, would you like to add anything or any contributions?
We're excited for the basic income march soon. That'll be fun.
Yeah, 19th.
Yep.
We are also registered, but we will do something outdoor, but we don't know what exactly it will be. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, guys. You guys are always so full of amazing information. Thank you for the presentations today. It was so full of awesome stuff. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kimberly. Very kind of you. Any other friends who didn't say anything? As far as I see, none. Can I ask a question to our friends from Canada? I guess only John is here. Yes.
Ask away, Ali.
John, the question is, you know, we are trying to have simultaneous signature collection campaigns with the ECI. Because at the moment, within the ECI structure, there are 27 countries. They have the same petition text, and they are collecting signatures. But why not to have simultaneous campaigns all around the world at as many countries as possible? It is, in fact, working group number 53. You have some details in your emails, most probably. And then at the moment, dear Shabana is here, India, Turkey, Iceland, Norway, Costa Rica, Brazil, Indonesia, and one more or two more. Chile. Okay, 8 or 9 countries are interested. And we are having meetings with them. What we are trying to do is, they are all independent. All the texts are different. I mean, they are all local text, national text. And the campaign tool is also different. We would like to do something like this. The idea is to show the world that this issue is a hot issue, hot topic, and it's being discussed in many countries, and there are many networks all around the world, and they are collecting signatures. And monthly, we would like to report, okay, let's say India, total population is this much, they collected this much support. It may be a signature, or it may be a like, or whatever it is. But the issue is, it doesn't have to be a brand new campaign. It may be an ongoing campaign, or it may even be a past campaign. And then the idea is, yeah, this is something like this. And we were talking with Tony and Sheila too, after long discussions. They said that in the coming 2 months, the Canada is very busy with the political issues. I couldn't talk to them in detail, but is there any, how I can say, major signature collection campaign or major network whom can be a part of this campaign too? Because no engagement, I mean, nothing, they have to do nothing. They have an ongoing campaign. But for example, with the South Africans, today we had a long meeting. They started the campaign yesterday, and most probably they are convinced to join us. So we will have one more country from South Africa. So what's the issue is, we will have a monthly report from each campaign. Every line is one country. And then we will show, we will give a material to be used in the media also. I mean, each country can share it with their local media, national media, and maybe they can put into the televisions or newspapers, whatever. So to catch the attention of the society. What do you think for Canada? Anything you propose, any advice?
We've talked about it briefly, quite honestly, and I'm all for it. You know, I think the more global opinion that we can muster, the better everyone's going to be for it. As you alluded to, we've got our parliament is prorogued right now, so they're not meeting until September 22nd, and they're coming back with a recovery budget. So there's going to be a lot of interest, and there's a lot of pressure happening right now too, because it's a minority government. So there's a lot of discussion going on about, you know, how do we structure a recovery, and we're obviously very much pushing for a basic income as part of that. And later in October, Ontario Basic Income Network and Coalition Canada are having a lobby day on Parliament Hill, and we've got a ton of senators, almost half the Senate. No, I won't go that far. A lot of senators and an increasing number of MPs that are willing to engage with us. So we're really working to make that have a positive effect going forward for us. And so, I mean, that is keeping people pretty busy right now. But the idea of a signature campaign, or you know, as you say, likes, whatever, I think is brilliant, and I'm all for it. And maybe I can speak with the Ontario Basic Income Network and see if we can get something going and start it anyway, and maybe push it out to the Coalition Canada, which is a cross Canada informal group that has started some projects, which they're projects that this would tie into.
Dear John, let me share a link at the chat box. It doesn't have to be a brand new campaign, as I said. It may be an ongoing campaign.
Yeah.
So it will not be a load to these friends if they are busy, but it might be interesting.
I agree fully, and I'll certainly have a look at it and start pushing it, Ali.
Okay.
I certainly understand the tie-in with the ECI.
25th of September. In fact, they are all written in this link. At the beginning of this Google form, there are full details of what we discussed up to now with our friends.
Okay, yep.
And we will have another planning meeting on Saturday. I will send you the details if you like.
Okay, sounds good.
That's great. Janus, would you like to say anything? I guess you put a link about the Facebook, which is not active yet, but hopefully will be active.
It seems to be active as I had access to it, but just empty. So if you have some plans with it, then please inform us what will be what we will find there, and I also read somewhere will be also a group. This would be very nice.
Yeah, and also a web page is coming because many friends are asking to see all the video recordings at one place, all the imitation details.
Yeah, I saw some kind of web page. It was ubiadvocates.org. Yes.
Okay.
Share the link.
Link also. It's not. Oh, we have a friend, Stani. Welcome. You are muted.
Yeah. Stani is from India and he's joined as a good volunteer. Let him introduce.
Hi.
Welcome, Stani.
My name is Stani. Yeah, I'm from Kanyakumari in India. Yeah, I run a business here, construction and hospital. And I'm also actively interested in doing the social work. So I got introduced to this group by Mr. Shobna Narasco.
That's great. We will be working closely, hopefully, especially after 25th of September.
Yeah, he's a great social sensitive person. And I have asked him to promote the basic income throughout India through online networks. So he is taking charge of this social network promotion activities for India.
Stani, maybe you should join to working group number 55 too.
Okay.
I will share at the
Yeah, you joined that.
Okay. We better in contact, and Michelle Gianella from Italy, and Catherine Leduc from Canada. She's a little bit busy these days, but after some time she will also concentrate.
Okay.
It will be an interesting group.
All right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Then we can finish our meeting. Hope to see you latest in latest in the second Tuesday of September. And also, okay, see you then.
All right, sure.
Can I ask something?
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Barb. Thank you very much. Very interesting start for this.
Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bob, your
The
presentation
link
was
of
very
the
good.
presentation. Olaf, nice to see you.
Thank you, and bye.
Ulrike, we are waiting a presentation from you regarding the.
Yes, I will write to you if it's finished. Okay.
Great. Dear John, hopefully to hear from you, or we can communicate through email.
Yeah, well, we'll get something happening, Ali.
Okay. And Gerdur.
Later.
Good evening, Gerdur. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Dear Yanis, I have a question to you. Oh, Yanis closed. Okay, see you all then. Oh, Yanis is here. Oh, he's not.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
See you all then.
Very interesting meeting. Super. Thank you.
I mean, both presentations was interesting, and there was a balance. One of them was quite theoretical. The other one was quite practical.
I thought it was really fantastic because the mixture of the two. So this is really kind of uniting our ideas in the same way. So everybody's on the same line somehow, which I think is fantastic.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. I think I was writing here also, like, I think because I was working on it, I think that our united effort has to be to ask for basic salary all over the world, because they were all talking about basic income, which is perfect, but the thing is now that the chasing of slavery from the big corporation is just horrible. They're always looking for the cheaper production everywhere, and they don't give a shit about the people who are working. And that attitude we have to change somehow. And I think UBI will do that. You know, I hope so.
It has the potential. It has the potential. I hope it will not be degenerated.
It will not be what?
Degenerated.
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 Because politicians are trying to degenerate it. They are using the terminology, but they are modifying it.
Yes, exactly. But politicians are a lot of people. You know, that's what it is. So don't give them a title. You know, they're just people, and we have to have them, connect them to their heart. That's it. Yes. Okay. Hey, see you guys next time.
You.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.